came from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Koro oro koro tira kara sora koro sina kara oro koro toro sine tira. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun. And all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self has led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions and looked in the mirror till it shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines with nothing but love in my gun. Came to carry the threefold flame, be a pillar upon this plane, rebirth divine, human template. And all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self just led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions, looked in the mirror till they shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines. Nothing but love in my gun. Yeah, I was a fallen and now I am risen, and my cup runneth over. I drink from the Holy Grail. Da 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 da. I came from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Koro oro kora tira kara soro oro koro tina no oro koro shite kara stakara. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun, here to co-create a new world, co-create a new world, co-create a new universe, co-create a new world. Co-create a new world. New
Happy birthday, Yvania.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for lifting everyone's spirits with that incredible song, which was done on basically one take, right?
Yeah, just after writing it, that one.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing, amazing vibration. It's like timeless. And the words are just, speaking as a mm, poet, those words are incredible. The energy
Thank
behind them.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. It's been quite a few shows in the last 2 days. Uh,
Yeah, you've been
yeah,
busy.
yeah. Today was pretty busy. There was I woke up off planet, and so I know I was very active last night, like so many of us in dream state. And yeah, I felt a little bit thick and heavy, and Morgan put some hands on me, which I never really asked for, but I just knew. I said, "Can you put your hands on me?" And that helped me quite a bit. And it's starting to level off a little bit, but yeah, today seems to be for me anyway. I don't know how you feeling today. I know it's a day ahead, but
Yeah. Um, I saw the heaviness and the cloudiness in vision a few days ago. Um, so that, as we know, everything's clearing, right? But beyond the cloudiness, and it's lifted today. When I woke up this morning, I was completely in cloud and mist, and it's just find up to the most incredible day.
mm,
But after that cloudiness, the next vision was incredible. Um, of just that, it was just the third eye, basically, in a pyramid. And um, I think we talked about this a little bit last year, the new vision and how clarity, everything's really clear, especially third eye, um, a feeling everything is just really crystal clear, if you like.
yeah,
And going beyond that was another. It was like the threshold of time and space. It was like the first when we came here and decided we wanted to have this individual experience of expressing, you know, source, and how excited we were to come through and express this in this environment. And here was this open portal, which I became and observed as excited little soul sparks, if you like, coming in and out,
mm,
and then looked at what we created and how all the portals and all the stargates and everything are completely open, and of the stories of everything that we've gone through in this loop, this continuous loop, have just collapsed. And the focus now is just on creating and being that individual expression that we first came here to be,
yeah,
in love, right?
yeah. It's like everything's been lifted,
Yeah,
and jumping on the news feed a little bit, uh, in between shows, just to keep my mind, you know, occupied. I notice over the last few days, of course, with the coronavirus, people in the community, and I'm not knocking anybody. I think, everything's relevant, obviously, and this is probably meant for me. But I notice that there's still some fear stuff being projected, and it on one hand, it kind of falls on my own deaf ears, but on the other hand, I guess with the work I'm doing, I kind of look at it and go, I wonder why that's still out there. I wonder why it's still happening. In other words, the real force, if you will, is not with whatever it is that's occurring, because obviously it's being reported as an example. It's being reported, in exaggerated proportions. It's obvious. You can tell by looking at it. It's like reading false flag frequency, but that in the community, some of that's still being pushed out there.
yeah,
And I said to myself, well, I wonder why that's still out there. But I guess we all have, you know, continue to have a little work to do on the inside of ourselves. Maybe I don't really know. What's your take on it?
yeah. Well, what is that? What is the illusion? The illusion is fear. The illusion is doubt. The illusion is all that stuff that goes with that. That's the illusion of this reality. And so when we're born, here we go, happy birthday to everybody. When we're born, when we come into this realm with this, let's call it fear-based system consciousness running, our entry through causes a huge hole in that consciousness that can't be rewritten over. The only way that it can be powered is from our attention to it, hence the way into the mind. And let's promote this so that we can power it up, because we are beings of very high frequency and we power things. Whether we are aware of it or not, every single moment, we are powering something. Every time we give our attention to something, we're powering it. So every time we look at that program where the illusion, where fear runs, we power it. And that's our cross to bear, if you like. When finding the words is I'm getting all this information of like, get it all into one word. That giving ourselves permission is huge right now. Giving ourselves permission to be in our natural state of being can be difficult with the distractions of everything that are going on around us. And it's not as though we're not compassionate and feeling towards what is going on around us. That illusion is crumbling and people are feeling it, noticing it. Our part in this is to hold our space in our beingness, because as the old collapses, we're creating the new. These old storylines, and this beer virus is the first of many things in certain trajectories that have come in to do this, and they'll be more and more heightened if that's what it takes to remove that illusion, if you like. We don't have to go that way, but we do have to collapse these old storylines, including right now that the one, the Atlantis trajectory, the whole shebang that went on there. These old storylines are imprinted within this loop of this planet that has been going on for eons, not just thousands of years or tens of thousands of years, eons, these looped patterns of this civilization that self-destructs, because the individual game at some stage was thought of as how individuated can I get? And it was a choice to walk, if you like, turn away from that source that we are and the whole experience. And so many of us left the experience. Why would we stay? It wasn't for that. So we do this loop. We collapse these timelines, because that's where time exists within these stories. So this Atlantis story is a doozy, isn't it? Right? So we get through this one, and we'll see a lot of new information coming from that era, because all our ancestors have walked this loop, for eons.
I like what you said, because if you look at our individual journeys, so much stuff happened to us on a personal level. Many people that come on this show talk about the series of traumas that they had leading up to 2012 or on or about 2012. And it's like the human, the soul, both, all of the above, gets to a point like, what the hell else can you do to me? Like you
Yeah.
get to a point where you're like, okay, bring it on. I mean, like, what else is there? Like
Yeah.
I'm still here. A lot of times we didn't want to be here, but we're here, and it's like, okay, what else can you do to me? And it's like, the energy of what you're saying is, like with the coronavirus and the stock market's crashing, and it's like, bring it on, well, it's like what you're saying. It's almost like the universe is saying, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes. You don't have to go, down to the gut level. But if that's what it takes, then that's what we're going to do, because we
Yeah.
did sign up to expand this thing to its highest potential available. And if we have to get there being drugged through the mud, then that's the way it's going to be. But I do think that there, and I don't know why this is coming to me the last 2 or 3 weeks, just through things I observe. There are a lot of people, a lot more people than I ever thought, and that I've heard people forecast, awake in this world. There
Mm.
are a lot of people. There's still, like our own communities is not really mainstream yet, but there's a lot of pockets of people that are awake around this world, and that can't be underestimated. You know,
No, I can't. And I've found exactly the same experience within my world. People that have never heard of the word ascension, which I had never heard of the word either. Um, my my highest self had never mentioned ascension to me, only the heart opening and the receiving of the frequencies the more we open. Um, and what we were doing here, collapsing these timelines and going back for that first experience, and then beyond that, because the human is absolutely is a beautiful individual expression
hmm.
of source, and the um, I think I'm going off on a track here that
No,
that
no,
is a little bit different to what you're saying, but
no, you're not. I think this is good, and there's a comment that coincides with what you're saying. So keep going. It's not a coincidence.
yeah, okay. I'll get back to the noticing people that are awake, but I really would like today to to bring something that's very special in my being, in my heart, that every single individual soul, human here, is is something to be treasured.
Mm,
And sometimes the me we thing gets a little bit much, like I am you and you are me. Well, actually, I'm not you, Todd Medina, and you are not me, because you are your own expression of
mhm.
force and mother and father um, expressing itself. That's the whole point. And if um, together we are a family, brothers and sisters of the same pool of source.
Yeah,
And when you know your own individuality and your own expression of that, it opens you to that unity that you feel with your brothers and sisters anyway. So the me we thing is is it's kind of relevant when we know we're all one on these levels, but here in this individuated expression of celebration of that um, is something to be celebrated and treasured, and the co-creation of it is what we love
yeah, yeah.
the
I re-
most.
when I woke up, a lot of things were given to me, as all of us. And the stuff that was being given to me, which was, I guess, uh, given to me so I could write it. I was doing a lot of writing the first couple of years, and I think the first thing that came in, I said, "What's Soulogy?" And they said, "It's the other side of truth." I said, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "Well, you'll figure it out." But they said there's three. Keep it simple. They said there's three things. There is one, one God, one source. There is a perfect order to the universe. What goes around comes around. cause and effect, whatever, and that we are all one unique and equal soul. So even though there's a lot of truth and more and more people, or you see more and more expressions of, everything is a mirror, everything outside of me is me, and that's true. We know that, but we chose this experience, and there are twins, on the planet, physical and etherical and so on, and what have you. But the fact remains that no one's alike. Everybody's unique. And so that's a real paradoxical, ironic type of spin on the fact that we're all the same, one and the same. But I do think it's important, to your point. I think it's something to be cherished and treasured, and expanded, because this is what we chose. We chose this individuality. Morgan said a long time ago to me, she said, the road to oneness is through individuality. And I never
Yeah.
could really grab it for a long time. Then I thought, well, wait a minute. That makes a lot of sense. I can be Todd, like we've said before, I've said before to you on the show and to other people, I'm only going to be Todd one time, unless there's something going on I don't know about. But to be physically conscious in a vehicle or whatever, I'm going to be this one time. So that is a unique proposition. And here we go with, the human is both the mission and the prize. Yeah.
Yeah, and something to be treasured. It's the it's the illusion that that people talk about, I think, with let go of the human. Well, the human came in perfect, absolutely perfect. It's that it's just the part of the mind which we get busy in this process we call ascension. The mind starts to go, I wonder if I've ascended, because I have to do A, B, C, D, and then there's this stage, and then there's that stage, and you get really caught up with it. There's questions of like, but did the bad guys do that, and did they do this? And the mind gets so active in that process that you miss the whole thing. You miss the ascension of yourself. You miss the raising of your own frequency and the heart opening, the busyness within the shadow world, the busyness, digging, 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 stay with it longer, keep going down, feel it, feel it, feel it. And you come out and you feel like you've been put through the frigging dryer, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that was fun. Next time it happens, you go back down again and see if you can find something else. And before long, the more you look, the more you find, because that's what you're focused on finding. And you miss the celebration and the heart opening that's going on underneath all that busyness of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and this thing about, and I think we all been there. This thing about distancing ourselves from the human. It's not real, or all these other things. The human is the hero. The human is the is the front and center of our entire experience, whether it be pre-awakening or post-awakening. You know, and as I go back to what I was saying earlier about some of the fear, what I see, I could be wrong, it's just my opinion, but some of the fear-based programming still attached to us, to the point where we would verbalize it, which if we as we begin to understand the power that you're talking about, it's almost like we were already ascended. It's just like,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. We were.
And so it's
And
like, yeah, it's like, we had to lose ourselves to find
mhm,
ourselves.
mhm.
And now that we are gaining awareness. And I think one of the things that I think will be a big, big turning point, will be when we take responsibility and honor our power, and think twice about saying something to for it's true, to expand fear-based programming. I mean, we might think that the more awakened and enlightened and elevated that we are, the that there's less of an accentuation or impact from our human things, you know, from the thoughts, the words, the actions. But really, in reality, it's different. You know,
Mm,
the old saying, you know, the higher you go, the harder you fall. So I'm not saying we're going to fall, but I'm just saying to be conscious of what energy we're putting out there.
mm,
And I think that that's going to be a big indicator, because, like you said earlier, we are doing it anyway. But we were doing it already. We created all this. We just didn't know we were doing it, and now we know we're doing it. So it's not going to be the government. It's not going to be, you know, any organization or even another person. It's really us to take full responsibility
yeah,
our experience in the spirit of expanding the wisdom, the love of this universe.
yeah. Giving giving ourselves permission to be what we are.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. It came through really strong in the last few months for me, just giving myself permission to be and to express and to allow that. Um, because that's half the in the illusion was that fear of not being able to be what we always knew we were. This burning desire in to be something more, to express something more, was so squashed, if you like, by us and by our allowing of others to reflect that back to us. And so this permission thing is such freedom
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be you without the restrictions and the conditions of anything and
Yeah.
anything that comes into your field of awareness in this craziness of merging and swirling energies of everything that's going on is seen very clearly for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you feel, you see, and you know where things are coming from, and you decide, as we always have, do I wish to participate in this energy, or will I go and continue on my own trajectory, because that's what we are creating. We are creators, and we create our own experience, and we are allowed to do that. We are allowed to be what we are. We're allowed to feel what we are, and we know what we are. We've gone
Mm-hmm.
from belief to faith to trust to knowing in that
Mm-hmm.
moment of allowing and giving ourselves permission to be ourself as our individual expression of source.
That's a big one. And then, you know, you've actually helped me settle something that I've been kicking around. Um, so if you go back to so many of us, if not everybody on the face of the earth, we were aware to a degree. We may not have been able to verbalize it, but intuitively we were aware of something. And we all, in our early years, it began to get shut down because we didn't fit in, because it brought us adverse attention. You know, we were the weirdos, whatever. Um, so, with that in mind, I'm sitting here over the last few days, like, I understand that when you want something, that it's in the letting go of wanting it, that it opens up the channels of that or something greater. But I said to myself, what, I can do that, but I cannot get rid of my desire, because I think it comes from a different place. Now, this is just me thinking. Now, as I'm talking to you, I'm starting to understand something. This whole thing about permission,
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
So, if I think about it now in that context of what I prefaced it with, I knew that I was far greater than what I was being told and what I was being as a
yeah,
result of my own concessions in order to fit in.
yeah.
But there was something inside of me, and I believe every one of us, there was a burning desire. Now, does the soul have desire? I don't know. Probably not, you know, but but but
Yeah,
the human aspect with its connection to everything and anything within its own universe, in its own body, cellular and so on, knows. So this is to me where the desire comes from, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a resistance or attachment. It's just part of the knowing. I know that I am much more than only human, and I want to bring that out in my human, which to me sounds like embodying. So so that helped me. You just helped me, so I can give myself permission. I don't have to judge myself. I'm not resisting or attaching. I'm just saying I'm here, I'm present, and I'm much more than what you see. And I want to express as much of my, multidimensionality, my my wholeness is possible in this realm.
Yeah.
I'm clear now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great birthday present for me.
Awesome. It's you know, we waited for permission from all that in that other thing. We moved into a stage where we asked for permission from higher guidance to move forward. We are our higher self, source expression. What do you want? You don't need to ask permission, just do it. Be it. Don't wait for something it comes from you. It is you. Be that, embody that, create with that. No permission is needed except for this little switch in the mind that goes, yes, I'm going to give myself permission. I am this expression. And that's freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very expansive, and it wants to create, and it has desire. It has such desire to share that essence, to be that essence, to spread it, to expand it to everybody.
Exactly. And is that and to me it doesn't even matter where the desire is coming from. If it's coming from my human aspect, I'm still not attached. I just have this desire to expand, to grow. And because of that, because of the methods that we're given to do that, it comes out in whatever it is. It could be you love being a mom and taking care of a family. It could be you like doing a podcast or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But
Does this feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah. The mind goes, oh, is this attachment? Because that's part of that whole, you must do this, this, and this. And when you're attached to something, it doesn't feel expansive. It doesn't open you and want to and allow the freedom to whatever it is that you think you're attached to. That's a whole different thing. It doesn't even come into the mind. You just create, you just be, do, share from that expansive state. The minute we start to go, oh, I wonder if I'm in attachment because I want this, and
it's like doing something for yourself, if you want to put it in human terms. If I want to go down the street and give myself a slice of pizza, I mean, and really, not just out of distraction or just, but actually, what I want a piece of pizza, or whatever the case is, and I treating yourself. The other thing that I've kind of gone back, not back and forth, but I've had in my head has been, well, and we've talked, a lot of people talked about, you can't plan anymore, but I still have these representations of my desire that are already in motion, like Soulogy or like my relationship with Morgan or my own other things. And I started to notice a pattern. And the pattern was when I was in a certain state that I couldn't quite identify. Well, you're helping me do things I didn't have to plan. It wasn't even on the board. It was just like the universe knows what you want. So here you go, here you go, here you go. So then I went like, okay, well, I need to stay in that space. And I believe that space is we can call it a lot of things, but I think it's this innate in the basic geometric equation of wanting to grow, which is if you look at all the different ways people describe what's happening, we're fractals, da 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 da, but all of them lead to one thing, and that is to have a more expansive experience. To expand creation would be another way to put it, and we're just images of that, made in the image. So maybe that there's some type of connection to giving ourselves permission.
Yeah.
And then those things that the universe, so to speak, already knows we desire, fall into our lap or something greater.
Yeah. The not being able to plan something is part and parcel of learning within stillness, within that void of where we really find our essence, if you like. And that state of being has this, I can't plan anything, because it's just focused in stillness, which is part of us. But the other stream that is part of us is the mother creation. And we are both the creator and creation, in action, in motion, in all of that. So when we feel outside of that void space, when you go through that eye of the needle, if you like, and you are in a state of, I can't plan anything, I can't see what's in front of me, there's that permission thing again. Well, there is nothing in front of you because you haven't created it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to step forward and create it, because you are that, right? And then that path opens up. You don't stay attached to that outcome of, is it going to happen? What is it happening? Let me dig and have a look. Shit, why hasn't it come today? And maybe I've done something wrong. Well, here we go. Zoop, that path goes like that, and now we're back to that feeling again. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to plan. You step out, you make a new path, you expand that, and then you move on, and you make another path, and you expand that, and you move on. We're continuously moving, expanding, and collapsing, and that's what we do. That's what we are. We don't get stuck in these loops, and giving ourselves permission to get out of those loops is huge. That's where we can start moving forward and stepping into our creatorship, creatorhood, creator whatever that I'm trying to find the word for. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And anytime the mind comes into question, have a little conversation, if you like, with self, and ask, is this moving me in the direction of my expansion of this love? And pretty much most of the time, that little mind voice is, and then just quietly remind that you are the observer and the projector of what I am moving forward to. You're safe, you're okay. It's like our brains switch sides, if you like, when they come together, the left and right. And no longer this one is being the driver. It's now the filter.
Yeah. Somebody was on the show in the last couple of days, and they said it's like we're the projector, like a movie projector. And then you have the image, the movie, and it's like the projector is judging the movie. We're actually judging the movie, but we're the projector. I thought that was.
And how silly is that?
We did something different last night. well, normally we, at this stage, we've been for quite some while, and now we have gotten to a point where we just put our hands together and just whatever comes. Sometimes things are said, sometimes things are not said. There's a lot of telepathy involved. Anyway, last night I could feel it coming, and Morgan said to me, "Why don't I sit on the couch? I'll connect to my higher self, who I'm very familiar with, and you ask questions." I said, "Okay, that sounds." I had some questions anyway. I wanted to ask some questions when we had our session. I had mentioned that to her. So we went through this series of questions, and I had a lot of good questions. But the answers that kept coming back were from a higher, obviously, a higher self awareness. And just to, kind of encapsulate it all, the answer was pretty much the answers in the question. Now,
Yes.
at the same time, I'm asking these questions. Every time I'm asking the question, I already know the answer.
Yes.
Even if she's telling me, even if she doesn't tell me what I got, she tells me, "Do you see the answer in the question?" So I finally got to the point, and I said, I think this is why you intuited that we needed to do this, because there there are no more questions. There's really no more questions. I know there, I'll just kind of like try to paint the picture, but I know I'm not going to die. I know that everything's cool. I've gotten to a certain level, and I'm speaking not just as an individual, but I've gotten to a certain level of honor, respect, and reverence and love for the human aspect. And I'll end with, Jed just put up something in regard to what we're talking about. He said, but you can also allow yourself to feel lost, to feel broken, to honor those parts that you're feeling coming up. So, and he says,
Yeah.
and not getting into the story of it. Yes, I think this is key. Key. What is my desire coming from that silent, still space? Why am I feeling out of whack? The honoring of the human aspect is the goal, the real goal, because this human aspect is actually a giant among giants in this universe. The respect level that we have from our family for what we're doing is off the charts. And
Yeah.
many channelers and downloaders on this show and many other venues have said this over the last few years, and you can feel it. This was, I guess, going back to where we started at the beginning of my comments, with some of this fear-based programming being further projected by, even though the individual, including me, might have elevated to a certain level of awareness, still unconscious of something, is that I think it's okay now. It's okay to let go. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's not even surrender. It's giving permission, like you
Yeah.
said. I give myself permission to be the giant among giants in this universe that the human hybrid soul is. And I think we've said this for a long time, but I think we're just right there. Just right there. And
Absolutely.
everyone knows by now,
Yeah.
including Jed, who's having a rough time today, because he's been on the show and he's very high vibrational. When the shit comes, the shift comes. And
Yes.
so if it's happened that way for us, the math is the same for the collective. So coronavirus,
Absolutely.
stock market crash,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's just the shedding before you go through that eye of the needle you're talking about.
Yeah. And that collapse, that vacuum
Yeah.
is moving at such a speed.
Mm-hmm.
And some days we feel it as this anxiety, sort of excitement anxiety, like, wow, because it's the suction, the vacuum effect of that, all these storylines, because so many of us have collapsed the whole thing, the whole loop of that, getting out of that loop and staying within our own movement outside of that causes this to go even quicker, right? So how we move forward from here is up to all of us. And just getting back to that human aspect and honoring the human aspect of us actually, it doesn't contain feelings of unworthiness, feelings of self-doubt, and there's nothing wrong with feeling those, because they come from that other, they come from the mind, they come from that other conditioning that was there. And we used to spend a lot of time sitting with those feelings and digging and looking, and the more we focus on that, the more it comes up. When we can focus on what we are, then that is the experience and the feeling that clears that program away, giving ourselves permission to clear that old state of being. That the heart opening does the work. There's so many, I hate to work, I don't like to use the word shortcuts, but the shortcut is really open the heart, follow the love is sweeping away. It does it all for you. Focus on that. Not so much on what's wrong or what you're feeling, and then getting into others and saying, hey, are you feeling this too? You know, okay, all this stuff within the story we feel come through us because we're all portals for this. All of us. It comes through the heart, and it gets transformed out. We don't fixate on it when it's coming through. We transmute it. It just gets released. An open heart doesn't hold on to the feeling. It just releases it. It comes out as love. So
I said this on the last show, and bear with me for those of you who were on the last show, but I think this is a better example of what I was trying to explain using the same story. So it's an energetic thing, but you've set it up much better. So last night we had April Fontana on, who is an incredible, and I don't buy into, so I don't buy into so easily into, distance healing. I think everybody does it themselves, and I don't understand all the math about it. But, she's obviously got some type of incredible gift and skill, but very, very down to earth, which I think makes it even more impactful. Anyway, she said to me, and this is an analogy along the lines of what you're talking about. She said, when people say to me, like, they think that if I'm going to do distant healing with you, Todd, and I look at your body, they think I'm looking at your body, looking at all your organs, and looking at, anything that's out of alignment or whatever, right? She said, that's not what happens. She said, I go to the sixth dimension. And for this discussion, let's just say the sixth dimension is the heart. Okay, what you're talking about. She said, I go into the sixth dimension, the heart. I don't have any questions. I don't say anything. I have no expectation. I just go into that space and I just become part of it. It permeates into all of my cells, and whatever I need, I'm shown. I might be shown a gallbladder and, a kidney, and then boom, but the point is exactly what you're saying. To actually, with some sustainability, be in that space. And if for you, it's, putting your heart on your hand, or whatever, or your hand on your heart, or whatever it is, to be in that space heals. If to use human words, it heals, it aligns, it brings clarity. And I don't think we have to pick the scab off the wounds anymore to watch them regrow. I think what happens is we're in that space. And like you said, maintaining the position of the outside looking in, and we can look at that, see the scab, acknowledge it, love it. It's part of us. It's beautiful. And with that comes, the understanding we can make another choice, because we don't want to see it again, if that's the case, or if we want to see it again, we see it again. But
exactly, and it's a choice, and it's giving yourself permission to end that cycle of suffering, suffering and victim loop that was. It loves to keep looking at things like that. How can I suffer more? How can I keep myself on this cross? of crucifying these feelings that come through me, instead of just jumping off, just
Yeah.
jumping off, leaping off, you know. And that, getting back to that first thing we were talking about with other people, waking up and, you know, waking up, becoming aware of themselves in the world outside. There are so many that that don't even use any of the language that we sometimes use here within this community, and they have such vision and such knowledge of sacred geometry and structures. A girlfriend I'm going out for lunch with after this, she is extremely aware, and she describes the energetics of things that she sees, the patterns, the colors, and what it does within her body. She has no idea about a process called ascension or whatever that the last few years has been going through a tremendous heart opening. And when we're together, it's such a beautiful feeling. It's just one connection, heart to heart, and we have fun together. We laugh and play. We're like a couple of kids, you know. And if I bombarded her with my mind's interpretation of what stages she's in, I would really contain her in something, and that would squash her individual expression of what she's learning about her own self. And so, as we're moving through this year, because things have changed so massively for so many of us, one thing that we could keep in mind is that the language that we speak needs to be universal for all. The terminologies and everything that we use need to be heard and felt by all.
Yeah.
Not
And I
to
think
make them all tricky and full of even scientific lingo. The heart, it responds to the heart, not the mind.
And telepathy reads intention very well. I think of something, and I'm going to say this. I think it has something to do with what's happening with this right now, because we have a connection. You know, we have a connection, you and I, among other people. But so I remember when I came off the street, and I got a computer after a couple of years of doing Soulogy, and I started to meet people, and I started to post my words to pictures, and I started to actively read and comment on every single post, every single comment. And I think we've all been through this evolution that I'm talking about, or somewhere in it. So I remember, because I was coming out of the traumas that we all went through, and I woke up and all that stuff, I would tell everyone, I love you. I love you, man. I love you. Love you. Whatever the other one, so much love or much love or whatever. And then I met Morgan, and so this would have been, 2 or 3 years into it, and I would tell her I love you, and she'd say, what does that mean? You tell everybody that. And I didn't get it right away, but then I understood it. So it's not just what we're saying, it's the intention, the why. Because a big part of our journey has been, why do I say these things, right? Why do I do these things? And then we start to figure out what program's running underneath it. Very recently we started to get some intel, and I don't know if I could really explain it very well. She could, but I think it's, some of the things that because I did stop saying that to people, because it didn't have the meaning, right? There were just words. And why was I doing it? Because I was doing it for the response that I would get, which was the loop of going to an external to try to build my own self-image. And we know that story. But now I feel like, if I put my hand on my heart, and I can tell you from my heart, I love you. And I can also say to everyone watching and even on the replay, I love you. And this is not the same thing. There's something happening, and it's a fusion of telepathy and the spoken, the verbal, that's happening to us. So, we've all got to be conscious of what we're thinking, saying, and doing.
Yeah.
But for me, this is a really good example for me. Now, I don't know if it'll help anybody, but for me, A, to if I'm working comments, which I'm not saying that won't happen to me again. I know why I'm doing that. It's not healthy. And by the same token, I I don't need to divorce myself from expressing my love explicitly just because I fell into an old pattern that probably we all did. So I just wanted to say that. And I think somehow or another it's related, because so much of what goes down where two or more gather is not the words, it's the frequency, it's the overall vibration, the compilation of all the frequencies.
Yeah.
So thank you for hearing me out on that one.
I so love you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that. I can feel it.
Yeah. Where let's I put a post out a few weeks ago, and I put some kind of date, and I'm hoping that that's the last time from March to August and beyond. That's the last time that I have to put something like that, because it's me putting that out is collapsing that storyline. And I really feel we're in this stage now where that loop has collapsed.
Explain that.
Every year there's the same things happen in each month, on each date, within this loop. And that's something that I've noticed since 30 odd years of writing down these things that are coming through. And it's the same stuff that comes through, the same portals, the same everything. And they're all in keeping in these records of the loop. And anyone can pull from these records of the loop, and they can be very clever with their dates and their information. And it can create more attention on that loop. And I really hope that this is the last year that we go through this loop, and we move beyond that loop and into this beginning, going further than why we came, and expand this individual expression of source and love even further than it's ever been before. And we keep moving with it, and we don't contain any of the stories anymore. So let it
Wow,
be.
we're going to have a little extended version here if you got a few more minutes. I know you got to go meet your girlfriend, but
No, that's okay. I've got time.
this is just another, we're connected. Um, one of the questions that I asked last night was, why are some people forecasting what's coming? And I don't have to mention names, but we know people, and I love these people. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't questioning the people. I was questioning the purpose.
Mm.
Now I understood when I said it, like, I learned last night that when the minute you ask the question, it's there now,
Yeah.
so I understood that it served multiple purposes. Some people might expand from it. I mean, ultimately everybody does. Some people might be triggered or whatever the case is. But to
Yeah.
your point, and I've noticed this, and anybody that posts a lot, that's paid any attention to the memories of the day on Facebook, the stuff comes
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and it's freaking weird. I interviewed Heather and Jason Powers last night. The day before, it was the 1 year from the first time I ever interviewed them. And now that's a kind of a trivial one, but there's a lot of them that are even more impactful. I just had one pop up that Morgan wrote 2 years ago, and this isn't the first time. And same date, I take the image, I copy and paste the text to make it a fresh post, and it still says the date, like in this one, 2018, and I put it up, and it's like 300. I don't get that kind of action on my page. She does, I mean, she'll get 4, 5, 6, 7, 800, people. I don't. It's like 300 people with 150 comments, and the comments were this long. Everybody, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I see what you're seeing. I see what you're saying. There's some type of, energy that is the same energy as it was a year ago, 2 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like, just like I feel like the stars in their movements,
Yeah.
don't have to remain there. They don't, it can be changed now.
Yeah.
It can be changed. Part of the forecasting, to me, takes away from the experience of discovering on your own, creating on your own,
it puts us in that loop.
Yeah.
If it's done, so if I put something out, at the end of it, I'll collapse it. And I won't focus if someone says, is this why I'm feeling blah, blah, blah. I usually won't respond to that, because that's not the purpose of that, is to collapse it. When I noticed these loops were happening years ago, it was like, collapse, come in and collapse it. If I see it, if it comes into my awareness, I'll collapse it. You have to feel it, notice it, collapse it. It's what we're going through now with collapsing these stories. If I give you a story and say to you, for instance, there's a big peak coming up in April or May, because it's come into my vision, which has come through the record of what's happening and what has happened in the past. And I say, you're going to feel X, Y, and Z. As soon as you notice X, Y, or Z, or just by hearing it, you've stored it and gone, April's going to be this, May's going to be that. You're in that story, and you are reliving that story and not collapsing it instead. So the dates and all that within that eons of loop, the way the stars move, the way they transit each other through these loops, that is what we have moved beyond. That is where we're focused now, being our own universe, revolving around our own spiral, not our not around a loop. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's a high level loop. Maybe it's a loop we didn't use or whatever, or was it? But if I look at another example of this would be, okay, so there were many sacred books that outline the apocalypse, the unveiling, the end times. And there could be an argument made that somebody had secreted esoteric information and wanted to create a program of fear, whatever. But it hasn't happened. Just like if you have, and we've had massive hurricane, I remember several times, a massive hurricane headed towards an island. And it's a whatever, a category 5, monster of the century thing. And people start to collectively send energy coordinatedly, send energy to dissipate the hurricane. And we've watched it happen. So in other words, that loop was shattered, that storm was sent another direction or whatever. So I look at it the same way energetically. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I hit, you kind of help me align it. And it's, why does it, nothing is, there is, I believe totally, there's a perfect order, but it's far beyond anything we can sense.
Yeah.
And
our mind wants to know. Our mind wants to know. That's the only thing. Our mind wants to know what's going to happen next. What's the answer to this? That's all. That that feeds that the endless questioning of outside myself for the answer of what's going to happen and what is this, and feeding that, and yet the heart just moves through everything. Heart just graces through, you know, these scenarios. So you know, there's so many different levels of these records. Like you said, there's not just the loop one we've had for this planet and galaxy. There's records of soul. There's records of collective consciousness, and they're all kept in these places, right? And we can draw from all of those, and we can forecast from all of these. However, the experience of my soul self, I can't speak for everybody, is to go beyond the records and keep moving. Of course, there'll be a record of it at some stage, but you're writing the expansion of you continuously. Yeah.
Maybe we're writing the new loops.
Yeah.
Because, you know, maybe that's what we're doing. In
Yeah.
the spiraling out of things. Maybe we're writing the new loops. You know, Zavetta Da Vinci has that spiral that she downloaded. So if you have from the center in a spiral, you go out.
Yeah.
And then there's horizontal and vertical lines that run through it. So if you're on the spiral at age 7 and look at the energies that were prevalent at the time, then you go to age 29 on that line.
Yeah.
It's a different loop, but the energies are the same, you know, for the most part. And the idea behind that, which is just another explanation of, you know, what we're talking about, is that it gives you more awareness of what's going on at that time based on where you've been before, which to me is no different than even the movement of the stars. But can they change, and why not?
Absolutely. You know? And that's what we do when we collapse, when we move through the threshold of time and space in that. Because the mind, I don't even want to say the human mind, but the mind will it can't comprehend infinite, because it wants to know, where did it begin and where will it end?
Well,
you know,
I mean,
it must be a straight line, but there isn't.
Yeah. I mean, why would the one create infinite fractals to, I don't know if it's just to expand its experience or to know itself? Because if it needs to know itself, that means it didn't. So here we are, you know.
It's great to ask those questions too, and go beyond beliefs, beyond faith, beyond trust, in knowing, because these questions, the silliness, some of the things that we hold as doctrines, you know, within these, you know, you're free to hold on to anything that you wish to perpetuate, follow, whatever, you know. The knowing's in the being.
Yeah. We just watched that series. It's about 10 years old. She told me after we watched it, The Tudors, right? So it's mostly about Henry VIII, that time period. And, you know, I'm looking at this thing, I think 4 seasons of episodes we watched, and I'm thinking, God, you know, these people thought the kings and the queens were gods. They were subservient. They were in fear. I mean, they were like, I'm thinking, God, almost like thinking, how stupid could we have been? But if I look at where we're at today, 500 years later, and even look at the last 50 years, we have come quick. We have snapped. And, you know, you would think theoretically that the fear programs would have gotten stronger. Something's gotten stronger, and maybe they have, but we have. You know, so it's almost like the whetstone on a knife, you know.
Yeah.
like the fear-based programming, regardless of its intent, or AI. People talk about AI is like the the whetstone
Yeah.
that we're sharpening our soul with. I think this is going to be, and we're what now into the third month, and
Yeah.
wow, I think it's obvious that we're in a special time and place.
Yeah.
So
We've taken
when
out,
are
we've
you,
taken this ship beyond where it's
mm,
been, traveled
mm.
through why we came, and now traveling beyond where we've
when
been.
when are you coming to the United States? I'm just curious.
Um, August.
August?
Yeah. There's a timeline collapse that needs to happen to do with the um,
Is there a certain
first
part of the
time of
country that you're coming to?
Mount Shasta. There's an event there in
Mm.
August. Yeah, I've posted it on my page if anyone's interested. It's a doozy of a collapse. It's that first stray, if you like, uh,
Mm.
to get rid of that one if needed. Um, you know, it's interesting because when you say yes to something at the time, and I'm just watching how quickly all of this is collapsing.
Yeah.
And if I need to be there, I will be there. Wherever I'm getting called to, I'm having a look at what I'm actually collapsing there.
Mm.
Do I need to be physically there? And a lot of us do need to be physically there for
Mm.
reasons of our ancestry lines.
Mm.
And we're like acupuncture needles.
Mm-hmm.
And here where I am in Tasmania, I'm on a really cool point with Antarctica and other points of the grid, and that's something that I've been waiting for a long time.
I can
This
feel it.
year, everything just it was like all systems are go.
Yeah.
All systems are go. Let's do this. So it's beyond exciting. Words need new scribing, describing to new scribe, so we can now scribe.
I can feel it. I can feel it on
So
behalf of,
when I come, I really, really want to catch up with you guys and
well,
co-create something amazing.
I think we'll be in that area in the West. Uh, yeah, around then. Uh, Morgan says, "Where are you in Tassie? Where are you in Where are you in Tasmania?"
I'm on the west coast of Tasmania,
Hmm.
in a small mining town that no longer mines, but yeah, it's on a bed of quartz. That the entire place, most of Tassie is like that, but this whole town is just quartz crystal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're holding it down there for a reason, then, no doubt. Well, Yvania, on behalf of everybody, because everybody's saying it, happy birthday.
Thank you everybody for joining my birthday, and it's been so beautiful to feel everyone's love and to share my love with you all, and so much love and blessings and happy magical everything. May we all give ourselves permission to be the love
Yeah,
we are.
exactly. The giant among giants that we are.
Yeah,
Do me a favor and give your mom a third eye kiss for me. I
I
would
will
appreciate
do.
it.
Yeah,
Tell her I say hello and give her a hug and a kiss for me. And you
will
take care.
do.
And I'll see you next time,
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Mwah.
Peace
See ya.
out,
Peace
beloved
out.
sister. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.